I'm so blown away that people hear me say patience and they think that I'm saying be complacent. I'm not saying don't go hard. I'm not saying don't be ambitious. I'm not saying don't have tenacity. I'm not saying don't go get it. I'm saying don't burn yourself the fuck out. I'm saying be strategic and realize that if you put 6 years into something, I'm saying get your shit right. Do you know how many people promote something that's half pregnant and then promote it with all their might, but it doesn't do well because once everyone buys it, they don't like it? Like, get your product right. If you spend 3 years on getting your product right, it's gonna do much better long term than if you spend 8 months getting your product right and then you go hard promoting it for a decade. Like, you know, patience matters. Build real relationships. You know, like, if you want something from everyone right away, you're not gonna have real relationships. If you're asking, like, be patient with your relationships. Give, be thoughtful. So yeah, I mean, I'm stunned by how many people think I'm saying be passive or be, you know, or be complacent or be lazy. I mean, I just laugh. I watch these clips sometimes in my feed. Nothing gets me more excited than when someone says, don't listen to Gary Vee or Gary Vee's wrong. Because what's fun in that is I don't get competitive. Well, let me phrase that. I get as competitive as I do curious. Like, I love changing my mind. I love being wrong. Like, I love relying on my conviction and my humility equally. So anytime there's a little bit of clip on that, but the one that most people have gotten wrong is this one. There's plenty of people who love on a podcast be like, don't listen to Gary Vee, patience is crazy. Like, this is your 20s, you need to, I just laugh at that to no end. Normally, because I have context on the person that's saying it, and I'm like, I go harder in a day than you do in a year.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. All right, last one. So for someone that wants to kind of start from zero, they want to build a personal brand.
Yep.
What advice would you give to them?
They have to do it around something they love, because if they're doing it around something they think there's money in, they're gonna not make it. They need to figure out how they communicate. There are too many people that are great writers that suck on video that are trying to make TikToks instead of writing blog posts on LinkedIn. So self-awareness around how you produce content, right? Like I can't write the way Ryan Holiday or Tim Ferriss write, so I don't blog, right? You know, if I could rap, I would be Russ. You know what I mean? Like, so like, you gotta know your way, and that's huge. And then I would say you have to be unbelievable at PAC, which stands for platforms and culture. What I think I do well, and what I think others that I pay attention to, brands or people that do well, is they understand how to make social media content or podcasts or videos on you. Mr. Beast understands the platform and the culture of YouTube, right? Joe Rogan and Call Your Daddy understood the concept of platform and culture on a podcast, right? Charlie D'Amelio understood the platform and the culture in TikTok. I understand the platform and culture around social media overall, which is why I'm strong in every platform in a world where most people are strong in one or two. So, you know, I think self-awareness of how you communicate, be deeply passionate that you're making the personal brand around things you like. It can't feel like work or you're gonna not get there. And then third, be a practitioner in PAC, platforms and culture. From 2007 to 2011, I replied to every single email and tweet I got until 4 a.m. Nobody knew who I was, so I would go into Twitter search wine terms, and jump into conversations that people would tweet having this Pinot Noir, and I would reply. They didn't know me. And I would reply, that's a good one. Did you try the year before? And slowly but surely, for hours and hours and hours, for years and years and years, I built a foundation that years and years and years later started the creation of what people see now. And meanwhile, people start a TikTok account, post 5 times, don't go viral, and they're like, this sucks. The lost art of patience and foundational. And this has a lot to do with parenting. Our parents' generation around the world, where they could, when they borrowed money from parents. Our parents borrowed money from grandparents and paid them back if they wanted a house or start a business. Now, kids think their parents should just give them money.
Yeah.
If you're 22 years old or older in the world and your parents are giving you money, you're in deep trouble.
Why?
Because you have been told by your parents and you've told yourself that you were incapable of standing on your own 2 feet.
Correct.
Which immediately leads to insecurity, which leads to very bad behavior.
Dependence.
The end. And then when I say this, and this may be the 5th or 6th time I've said this publicly, I'll get a bunch of emails saying, you don't know me, I have 2 children from a bad man who left me. I'm like, live in a worse house. I'm like, why am I looking at your, if your situation's so horrible and you need to think your parents, why did I just click your Instagram account and you have a Prada bag? We become so materialistic that people want all these things, but they want them. The question is, why do they want them? They want them because we're communicating to the world. Every one of us right now is wearing what we're wearing, our haircuts, everything, communication. We're positioning ourselves to the world. I really, really think there's a lot of important conversations that are not being had. I'm trying to throw them out there, and I remember, meeting with you like a year ago. Like, I like when people see what I'm, and my hope is that if I have the courage to say stuff that people aren't talking about, then others will start doing it. Like, these are important, this is an important video. If one kid or grown up watches this on YouTube and changes their behavior, that's intense legacy.
So what's the number one thing you wish you knew when you're starting out? So I'm 18, and what is the biggest lesson you learned when you got on the new level?
What's the biggest lesson I learned? To follow your gut. To always just follow your gut. You know what I'm saying? A lot of shit is gonna distract you.
There's opinions that you may look up to when you first go into it, but you realize they don't know shit.
Absolutely. Follow your intuition. You know what I'm saying? Listen to your gut. It's never wrong, and it knows what the fuck you want before you do.
For me to answer the first part of your question, the one thing I wish I knew when I was starting out is the thing that I preach to you guys all the time, and even though I believed it religiously at the time, even though I was 100 on it, I would have been 110 on it, which is patience.
Facts.
When you're hungry, when you're 18, when you want to be the biggest in the world, like, it's patience. I'm 41, right? About to turn 42 in November. So it's not as, I don't know if you play this game. John, is it? John, I don't know if you play this game. When I was 18, John, this is what I would play. I'm like, okay, I'm 18. And in 18 years, I'm gonna be 36. That's young as shit. I have my whole life in front of me. Everything I just lived, I have all that time in front of me, and I'm still gonna be 36. And I would do that literally. Even at 30, I remember doing, I'm like, fuck, I've done a lot already. Wine library was already big and everything. I kind of made it a little bit. I was like, and I've got my whole life, and I'm gonna be 60 years old, but not fucking dead yet. But now I'm 41, and I'm like, okay, I've lived this whole life. Okay, at 41, I'm gonna be 82. I'm like, 82's a little and so for me, even with the game that I've played my whole life about doubling up my number to make me realize how much time I still had, so fucking be patient, do the right thing. Shortcuts kill you, like, do it right. Even now, even though that doesn't sound as good, I still do it. The fact that you're 18, John, which means you're double your age, you're still 5 years younger than me, that's fucking insane. And the thing is, you are so quick to be put on, to showboat, to win for yourself, for the world, whatever it may look like, it usually leads to the move that keeps you away from winning. I think one of the biggest things that kids need to learn is how to deal with inconvenience. So one of the reasons I kind of like a lot of entrepreneur or creative people to go to university for their parents is I want them to go through 4 years of being inconvenienced. Because right now, the world's biggest problem is that a lot of people struggle with any level of inconvenience. And so one of the unique things about going to university for your parents, not for yourself, is you're building tolerance to do things that you don't want to do. And right now the world is struggling with being good at that. I just said that I like waking up every day and doing what I want to do. 85% of my day is doing shit I don't want to do. The macro, I'm doing what I want to do. But the micro, day to day, I'm doing unlimited things I don't want to do because I've built up the tolerance to be inconvenienced or eat shit for 6 months to achieve the bigger mission. The world has made it very good for kids now. We're really soft on inconvenience. We don't like when kids cry. We don't like when kids are upset, and everyone's gotten very soft. So one of the unique things about your journey is, believe it or not, going to university for your parents at your own discomfort might actually prepare you for entrepreneurship more than anything else. You have to understand, life is too complex to think there's a right answer, right? I say it all the time, like, people think they're gonna make the right decision. You have no idea how it's gonna work out. You know, I usually use the example of me not investing in Uber, right? Literally one of my best friends. Literally the 3 months prior and the 3 months after, I was investing in all sorts of dumb shit, but I passed on investing on Uber twice. And if I wrote a $50,000 check, it would have been $500 million. And so it's very easy to say, my God, this was a terrible decision. But in my mind, I'm too happy as I sit here with you right now to think it was a bad decision. And if I made that decision, my life would be completely different. And then the way I like to tell this story is, maybe it would have brought me to a different speech or a different conference or a different meeting. And maybe I wasn't paying attention when I was crossing the street and I got hit by a car and I'd be dead today if I invested in Uber. People are pessimistic. They think the decision they made that didn't work out, because it's easy to see that it didn't work out, they don't take into the complexity of life. You may go to college, a university, and you don't want to, but you might meet your best friend in the whole world. And that person might go on to become Elon Musk. You know, and so you just don't know. You really don't know. And so for all of us, whether it's university or having children or moving or changing your job, humans are so silly. Once you make a decision, you can't dwell on that decision anymore. You have no idea how that would have changed your life. Every restaurant, every building, every week, everything in your life is different forever. And we should look at it optimistically, not pessimistically. I think a lot about, what do we not know today that every human being in 50 years is gonna know? Today, every one of us here knows certain things about the heart or cancer or weather or medicine that 100 years ago nobody knew. And I always say to myself, what are we doing right now, right here, right now, that in 70 years every person's gonna know and we have no idea? And my favorite one that I think about is intuition. I believe today, as we sit here today, there is very little knowledge and very little respect, even less respect, because there is some knowledge. There's very little knowledge and even less respect for the stomach. We think about the brain. We know our brain, but the second thing that runs our life is this brain, and nobody talks about it. And I mean nobody. And so I have come to realize I listen to this second brain more than I listen to this brain. And it has serviced me very well. And so I was telling that story to the team earlier, like how I think intuition is underrated. On the way here, I just said I was doing character development. I was recording on my phone a huge thing on intuitive iguana in VFriends because I want intuition to be understood. A lot of people here have made a lot of mistakes because they have not listened to this and they listen to this instead.
What is the most unconventional strategy you've used to stay focused on your own path and avoid getting distracted by external pressures or comparisons to others? And how did this strategy help you achieve your goals? And would you recommend it to others?
I love that. Oh, this is complicated, Alex. Couple things. Everything that works for me is this crazy balance of wild confidence and deep humility. I think I'm going to be one of the greatest entrepreneurs of all time, comma, I don't think that means shit. And so there's this bridge effect that I'm playing with that I would love for people to figure out, but I've been like spending 20 years trying to figure out how to get people to figure it out, right? Like, how do you build, like what we just talked about? My strategy was, if I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks about me, and I mean it, but I equally value what everyone thinks about me, that I could then achieve what I wanted. And what that meant was, I'm empathetic and compassionate to people's judgment on me because it's just a reflection of them, right? On the flip side, I knew that I had to take feedback to get better too. So it's balancing that. But what I basically lived in was my own little cave. And when I didn't like the energy of the person I was dealing with, business, employee, boss, partner, I cut it out, even if it had short-term negative effects for me. So it's really just a perspective on life that I would absolutely recommend to everyone because I know how much happiness it's brought me and others that I've seen deploy similar strategies. But it's really a challenge to like get into that place of like mental strength. And it's really hard to be like, it's hard for me to, Alex, to look at you right now in the front row and be like, hey, Alex, go get better at humility and confidence. You're like, thanks, Gary. I waited all my life for that dumb shit. What the fuck do I do with that? So it's challenging, but there's a heavy truth in it, Alex. And this is why I think the people thing matters. Like, I really kept good people around me, people that I, care for, who have my best interests in mind. When it becomes obvious to me that they're not on that train, I'm willing to adjust, even if it's painful. And I think that's how you have to think about it.
So you've often said that ages 20 to 30 should be a period of high risk and trying new things. Some of us here are college seniors following the path into a corporate job. So once you're out of a college setting and working a job, how would you suggest trying to continue to be high risk?
You mean professionally, brother? High risk? Because you could be high risk in your personal life. You could do crazy shit.
Yeah, I was thinking more like professional life.
It's really hard. The reality is the highest risk thing you can do in a corporate job is to give your opinion, even though nobody agrees with it, right? I think the highest risk moves in corporate jobs are pushing back. Here you are straight out of school, you're in a meeting with the CEO somehow, some way, she or he says something, you feel like you have expertise and knowledge in it, and you open your mouth and push back. That's risky because it's all politics in corporate life. Corporate life is not merit, it's politics. And so the highest risk things you can do is share your truth with political risk on the back end of you opening your mouth.
Do you see yourself to have more of an outcome-focused approach to your business ventures or more of a process-focused approach? And when it comes to your business ventures, how do you balance the two of them?
I'm 100% process. Melody, I'm like completely and utterly detached from the outcome. The relationship I have with my own business success is super weird even to me, which is, I don't think anything I've done professionally actually defines me in any shape or form, and I'm not like attached to it. I'm aware that I've been a successful entrepreneur. I just don't think that means anything. And I know this could get a little weird, so I'm gonna try to break it down, but man, I don't know if you could have asked somebody, like, people can only tie me on this process versus outcome. I'm that off the reservation on process. I don't need the validation. I don't seek it. I play this game for the game. This goes back to purebred entrepreneurship. So how do I balance it? Pretty damn easy. When you don't give a shit about the second one, you just focus on enjoying the first one.
For those of us who didn't have a mother who gave us an unbelievable amount of self-esteem and self-confidence, is there a way to work on that? Because to
your point, so much of what I've struggled with in my life is my circumstances. Not everyone's going to be born in the USSR. Not everyone's going to be born with into a life where they're not given anything and like they have to figure out how to get things if they want it, like video games. I think the way you build self-esteem is you start surrounding yourself with people that build up your self-esteem, whether they're your friends, your relationships, people on the internet pumping out content. The biggest issue in the world is too many people in the room, too many people on campus, too many people in California, too many people in America, and too many people in the world are consuming negativity and cynicism. Period, end of story. So I think that everybody in this room, if they want to be a little bit more confident and a little bit more happy, need to cut out the 20% of media, social media, and humans that bring that energy and bring in 20% more positivity. People are hanging on to friendships, relationships that they should limit or cut out completely. You should not, if for the people in here who are like, fuck, my dad is super negative and that it's a drain, it's not that you should never talk to your father again. It's if you talk to your father who's negative and cynical and tearing you down subconsciously, and you talk to him 3 times a day, maybe you could talk to him 3 times a week, right? If your boyfriend or girlfriend is a fucking drag, like that's something you need to think about. Like this is real talk, right? Like even like when I said that and seeing some of the people like smile, like this is real shit. Like you need to cut fucking negative people down or out, or it will affect you. It's why everyone's so anxious. Our political leaders have been a drag for a decade. Mainstream media is a drag. Humans are fucking cynical, and humans are very focused on misery loves company, humans are very optimistic, and humans really want others to win too. You just need to choose those people and those messages to be a bigger percentage of your day-to-day.
Mark Burnett calls them energy drainers. Ben Vandeman, our mutual friend that introduced us, he always says, if you're hanging around with 4 broke friends, chances are you'll be the 5th. So it really is the people that you surround yourself by, and it's not just about money. Alex.
But back to that broke one, everyone knows that broke one. I'm worried that we're not talking about the energy one, because one thing I know about 4 rich friends, often they're all straight dick faces. Burnout happens because people are posting what they think is going to get the most likes and views instead of what they actually want to post. You know, if you look at like my career, and I think people here have some context, I post weird shit because I might be into I love the things we're talking about, and I might post that for a week, and then like out of nowhere, I'll post a video of me going to a garage sale and buying something for $1. Or me freaking out that the Jets like won a football game, or like, I don't know, I posted about cereal yesterday because I'm very intrigued by people who don't eat cereal that is soggy and they eat their cereal like just cereal. Like I don't understand that. So like I need to like I think the burnout comes with when people are posting things they're not passionate about. They're posting things that they think will do well. I saw a ton of burnout from attractive people, right? Like the people that built their audience on like, you know, taking off their shirt and showing their abs or going all, you know, TNA on everything. Like they were burning out because a lot of them got to a different price in their life and they wanted to talk about other shit, but they weren't getting the same action on likes. And they were like literally doing shit they didn't want to do. Like I see a lot of comedians struggle with this. They're saying the same jokes that they know will do well, but their humor has evolved. And so everyone's conforming to what they think will do well versus posting what they want to post. The best way to not burn out is to post what you want to post, even if it doesn't do as well as shit that you used to do. Right? That's why I stopped doing Wine Library TV. I did it every day for 5 years. And then I just didn't want to do it anymore. And the original Gary Vee business content got shit on. Stay in your lane, wine boy. Right? And so I would fight for you talking about the things you want to talk about. And too many people also think it's not a good strategy to talk about a bunch of different shit on their account. And I think it's the reverse. Define quality for me, right? Because you asked the question of how do we maintain our quality? I would like somebody here to raise their hand and define the quality of what SK2 must maintain to on a post on TikTok.
If it sells the product, it's a quality ad.
So that's interesting. You've just we need to be friends immediately. That is not the first thing I expect. That just completely went, I wish you could see what's happening through my body. I believe that is one of the most important answers I've ever heard in the 13 years that I've done this. I agree with that. I agree that quality, one of the absolute things we should judge when we say quality is, does it sell the product? Now I get to do a Procter & Gamble example of this based on what just happened. Why are we sitting here today? I will tell you from my perspective why we are. A gentleman by the name of Chris Hyatt, who worked in the US and ran Olay, had the intuitive belief after hearing me speak at a conference that I might not be crazy, that I might be onto something, and asked us to go to Cincinnati and have a meeting. So we did. We talked it through because he is an operator, business, not an ideological marketer. He gave us a chance. Because I was selling it, I didn't compromise in any step of the way of the model, thus rendering us to do the model, which is consumer segmentation at scale, volume at scale, because quality is subjective. Quantity is not. We did the model. We were building up Olay.com. Very easy to measure on Olay.com. Very different than selling at Tesco or Sainsbury, right? Or at Walmart. You could see it. The piece of creative that changed our relationship, Vayner and Procter, a single piece of creative changed our relationship forever. Not a commercial that won a Cannes Lion, a single Facebook post. Do you know what that Facebook post looked like? It was a picture of a cat.
Lasers.
With lasers coming out of its eyes. Olay has a standard, not SK2 standard, but just to give you the preview, a cat with lasers coming out of its eye was below the standard. If it was to be in a subjective meeting, but because the model was built on we can do it our way, that ad sold the living bejesus out of Olay, was converted into outdoor media because it was proven to be working, and became a conversation that we were able to continue to build from. So you threw me a tremendous curveball by answering in a way that is so dear to my heart. I do believe quality has to factor in it achieving the mission at hand, which is to get someone to buy it. I agree with you. I also believe that the way quality is debated in every boardroom in the Fortune 500 CPG landscape is completely based on someone's opinion, if it is hitting luxury enough, funny enough, irreverent enough, their personal opinion. And so I think that to answer your question, we must define quality first. I think everyone here intuitively understands if they had to bet their children's health on it, what the TikTok would look like to make it SK2 sell probably looks very different than what would be approved by everyone in here. And that becomes the debate that I would like to have, because why are we emotional about what is relevant? Why are we emotional about what is relevant? Today, luxury around the world requires, for growth, to do partnerships with streetwear brands. Do you understand 25 years ago, if you told Louis Vuitton or Gucci or Hermes that they would be doing collaboration deals with street kids from Queens, they would laugh you out of the room. But they got to a point where they couldn't win on relevance enough anymore without them. We must learn from what's happened prior to us. I learned how to be a marketer because I ran my father's wine and liquor store at 22 years old, and I had a very big passion to build my family's business. I was born in the Soviet Union, and we immigrated to America when I was 3 years old. And we grew up, very humbly, and my father got a job as a stock boy in a liquor store and eventually owned it. So very first generation, son of a merchant. Since I was 14, 7, I had my own businesses. At 14, I started working for my father. Much to actually how I think about SK2 of a premium product within a category. My father's liquor store was called Shoppers Discount Liquors. So he sold beer and liquor and wine, but discount, lower end. But the store was located in one side of it was very blue collar, but the other side was white collar and had affluence. And I started noticing at 14 and 15 that people were coming in and asking for expensive wine. And I thought that was interesting. Even at a young age, I cared more about paying attention to the customer than any rule that existed. And so in that, I learned that people wanted these certain wines. I learned about wine, and in 1997, I launched one of the first e-commerce wine businesses in America. And I was able to build my father's business from a $3.5–4 million a year top line business doing 10% gross profit. So a very small business to a almost $70 million business in an 8-year period with no money, with no venture capital, with not even a credit line. My dad didn't believe in it. And the way I did that is the way I do it today and the way I would do it if I started one tomorrow. And this is gonna answer why I have so much anxiety about Fortune 500 marketing. With whatever money you have for marketing, you must squeeze it and it must work unbelievably hard to make the thing happen. You can't create growth without new customers or without having such a great service that you create word of mouth. So back then it was having a website, that was revolutionary. Back then it was doing an email newsletter, which was profound because it didn't cost me any money. I was doing direct mail and it would work, but that cost money. Email, I was able to send an email. As a matter of fact, I sent so many emails in the mid-90s because I thought by the year 2000, they're gonna charge for this. This is true. Later, what really took the scale was Google AdWords came out. I bought every wine term for 5 and 10 cents a click. And it was 5 cents for a few minutes, then it was 10 cents. And I owned that world for 2-3 years, then email. And then my career changed when YouTube came out. I started a wine show on YouTube in February of 2006, a 20-minute me sitting down doing content, which is now considered best practices today. This was 2006. That created brand. I was not paying for that. And so today, the big elephant in the room, and you know this because you're in this sector, because every KOL is doing it, but we're not doing it. We're doing it, but I come here to want to really do it. And I understand why we're not doing it. I understand that subjective opinions of is it on brand enough? I know what your pain points are, but we must have this conversation together that the scale of volume of creative we need. And we must win on relevance, not just on our subjective opinions of brand. And we must do it at scale. So what I would do today is I would produce as much content as humanly possible on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Pinterest, at scale, at the lowest cost possible, which is not at the expense of the quality of the content. And I would do that, and then when I would get the signals, quant and qual signals, I would then amplify true consumer insights into more meaningful, and that is the model that I believe in. I believe in above the line activities. I just think they're overpriced, and I think we guess. And I'd prefer to use social media as a proxy, and I don't believe posting on social media is spray and pray. I don't believe it's test and learn. I believe it's marketing. Why is a social media picture any different than a print ad? As a matter of fact, a social media picture done properly will be consumed by more people than a print ad in Vogue. Yesterday, we put yesterday on a pedestal. We'd rather pay $4 million for a celebrity than $400,000 for a KOL, and the impact's not even close in 2023. We'd rather run a print ad that takes us 4 months to decide that's on brand with our brand positioning, then post a proper photo on Instagram. We don't treat them the same, yet the latter is actually more impactful in 2023. And so I view marketing and social as you do marketing for the sake of doing better marketing. So I would make a pot commitment to social media organic creative. And once the signals played out, I would then use media to amplify, to create brand building and sales. And that's what I would do today. And then when I would do above the line work, I wouldn't do commercials. I would do pre-roll YouTube. I would do connective TV. I would do the new streaming service options because they are more built on social where I can target. And again, I would try to mitigate my cost of the creative. I came from Silicon Valley world where the biggest companies in the world, Facebook, YouTube, were making videos for their company, commercials on the internet, and they were spending tens of thousands of dollars to make it. Then I came into Madison Avenue and smaller companies like yours, compared to those companies, were spending millions of dollars to make a video. And it was a very big culture shock for me. I promise you, a video that's 30 seconds long should not cost $500,000. I promise. I promise. But the reason we all laugh is that's the rules of the industry. And the industry's done an incredible job justifying it. And so we must talk about this. And everything I just said enhances luxury, doesn't decline it, but luxury is super struggling with what I'm saying. There's this subconscious in their stomach reaction to this modern that feels like it's diminishing the luxury. When you look at the data, premium watch industry has exploded because of social. Premium car premium art, all exploding. Yet in CPG, consumer luxury, there's this bias that the modern communication channel somehow diminishes the brand, which is really detrimental because this is no longer, and everyone here knows this is not 20-year-olds on social anymore. The amount of 40 to 60-year-olds that are completely living in these platforms and all their consideration is coming from these channels is profound, and we must recognize that. We must accept that truth.